All right, I am here. Sorry for the little delay there, but I'm here. Welcome to another broadcast here. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We're going to be getting started here momentarily. Today's date is July the 6th, 2025. And I don't care if you celebrate the holiday or not. I know many of you had a day off, so I hope you enjoyed the day off. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Okay, and yeah. So I don't know what you did, but I hope you got some rest and plenty of sun. Okay, so today we're gonna be talking about a few things here. We're gonna be talking about this family that I have followed off and on, and they're trying to run away from racism. I'm trying to figure that out, and because I don't even know. Yeah, they're trying to find a unicorn. A unicorn with an afro. I don't know if you're gonna find that one. We're gonna also talk about Elon Musk and this new party. I mean, this is scripted. If you've been following us, I pointed to a movie that I saw recently that kind of laid this out. So we're gonna point back to that. We're gonna also talk about this is the last day for the alternate day fasting. And so if you want to sign up for that and save some money, this is it. After midnight tonight, Eastern Standard Time, it's a wrap. So you want to make sure you join that, okay? And what else? There was something else that I wanted to talk about. Oh, some recent laws that were passed in California. Yeah, if you're in our hotline group, there's things like this I talk about, I mentioned. Because I don't put it here, you know. I don't even, because I think some of this stuff, it'll just fly over people's heads. I don't know. I see what's popular, and these things aren't necessarily popular, but they're very important. At least they should be. So we'll be getting into that and some other things as well. So we're going to give people about under a minute here, and then we're going to get started, okay? All right, less than 30 seconds, and then we're gonna be good. All right, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. And let's go. Well, first of all, just want to give a big shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Those of you watching, anytime I hit this live button, you know, when you guys have the time, you do stop by. So I want to say definitely appreciate it very, very much. I don't take that lightly at all, because there's a lot of people out here that are all talking about stuff and that are a lot more interesting and they got a lot more things going on than I do. You know, so I don't take it lightly, or do I take it for granted. So I do appreciate you stopping by here, if it's for a few minutes or for the whole time. Either way, I'm grateful. So thank you. Appreciate it. So again, big shout out, of course, to everybody in the chat, everybody that's watching and all of that. And, you know, when I get time, I am doing the auto recording version of this as well, so I'll make that available. So we got, as always, got a lot of things going on here over on our Samba Tree YouTube page. We do have the ongoing series on real intelligence. If you haven't watched that or been following that, please do. That is, we're going through different parts of the brain, and just real, you know, it's basic, you know, but it's enough for you to be familiarized with how your brain works. Many people are very familiar with how their computer works. And anytime you get a notification, you're going to make sure that your computer, your phone, and all of your other devices are updated or upgraded. But what about your brain? Your brain needs that too. And there are different notifications that your body will send out letting you know it's time to upgrade. It's time to do that update. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't listen to it because they don't know what to listen for. As I've said many times, the brain itself is something that should have been required education when we were all in grade school. Unfortunately, it isn't. And it's just something that we're just simply taught that it's something, the thing between your ears. That's all it is. It's just the thing between your ears, and that's your brain. And sometimes you get a headache. If you want to shut it up, make sure you get some Bear or Anacin or something like that. Do they still make Anacin? Or Tylenol or something like that, and you good. You know what I mean? But no, your brain is very complex. All the computers that we use, the networks and different things that we are connected to, for the most part, they model themselves after the brain. So when we say real intelligence, this is the real intelligence right here. Artificial intelligence is what people have been playing around with out here, on ChatGPT or some of these other platforms that are quite helpful. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't see it any more than just as an assistant. It's artificial intelligence. I was watching this video earlier, it was a couple of days ago, and this young lady, she was just talking about some of the real things that are the impacts this is having on society. I'm talking about like ChatGPT, where you have people who are, because, we have done stories talking about how you got black folks out here that are like, tell me I'm special. Tell me I'm kind. Tell me something good about myself. And then ChatGPT is like, girl, let me tell you something. You are special. You are unique. You are kind, and you are beautiful, and people are like, oh my God. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Nobody else would tell me this. Oh God, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, ChatGPT, because you're worthy. My goodness. And I'm telling you, there are people. So it ain't just black folks, y'all. It ain't just black folks. You got white folks out here and others as well that are treating ChatGPT as their best friend, their buddy. And one thing this lady was saying in this video, she said, if you're an ignorant person, it's going to give you back ignorance, and I was like, yeah, exactly. And you guys have seen the clips out there, I'm just letting you know. And there are some people, someone said something that being funny, but I was like, too late. I think it was, I just saw him on here. Peace in Mind Counts. I think you said it. He said, oh, Lord, next thing you know, they're going to turn into a church. Too late. People have already doing that. You got churches now that are using this one church I saw, was watching. They said, yeah, all of our sermons, we have turned it over to ChatGPT. And then the thing about it, you got people walking out of church talking about, oh, that was so anointed. I just felt the presence of God on that, not realizing it's ChatGPT. I'm just trying to tell you, it's really something. So anyway, this is the world we live in, and we gotta be careful, y'all. You know what I mean? We gotta be careful. So, all right. So I gave you kind of the rundown earlier. For those that were just coming in, I went down the quick rundown of some of the things we're going to be talking about during this broadcast. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, we encourage you to participate in the chat if you like, or if you're watching the recorded version of this, put it in the comment section. Just keep it respectful. Okay, so that's all we ask. If you can't be respectful, then you're gonna have to, like, what did that song? Cause I'm saying bye bye, bye bye. You gonna go by? You gonna go by? All right. Say, oh, well, you just don't like people disagreeing with you. No, it ain't that. No, it ain't about disagreement. It's about being respectful and staying on topic. And I see how some people, they just cannot stay on topic. They'll just take something and go somewhere else with it. Anyway, so let's go ahead as we get started, because I'm going to jump right into the news today, y'all. Just real quick, I want to show you this here as a reminder. Where did it go? I just had it up here. What is going on here? I literally just had it up here. Okay, hold on. Oh, who can I blame? Can I blame the devil? Who can I blame? Okay, hold on. Let's see. All right. Is this it? Yeah, this is it right here. Real quick here. Let me show you the video here real quick here. That's right. Samba Tree. We have our 20% off in store celebration. That's the way I could describe it. Yes, 20% off. So if you haven't taken part of that, make sure you head on over there to sambatree.com. Let me make a correction to what I said earlier. We do have that, and I'll talk more about this a little bit later in our broadcast, but that alternate day fasting, this is the last day for the early bird special. Right now it's at $49 by midnight tonight. It goes up, I think about another 20 or something dollars. So if you want to take advantage of it, this is the time to do it. Don't wait. Don't be sitting up there waiting for the very last second. You need to jump on it now. Okay. So again, head on over to sambatree.com, sambatree.com. Go ahead and get signed up for it. Like I said, later on in the broadcast, I'm going to talk about, again, we're going to talk more about why this class is something. If you just been thinking about it and you're kind of like, I don't know, I'm going to give you some more reasons as to why you should be thinking about it, more than just thinking about it. Okay. So anyway, we'll get into that. So first, let's get into our first story here. Now, many of you have, over the years, we have seen and heard from different folks who have told us and warned us that we need to leave America. We need to get out of here because America is such a bad place. It's a wicked place. And this is not the best place for us as Black Americans. We shouldn't want to be here, and it's just a horrible, horrible place. Now, I'm not making light of the history of America. And yes, historically speaking, yes, America has not been too kind to us colored folks, if you know what I mean, right? That's true, right? And yes, that's something that, hey, if the Jews ain't gonna forget about certain things, why can't we? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit up here and tell you, y'all just forget it. The past is the past. You ain't getting that from me. However, what I will say is this, is that I will be honest and say, hey, listen, compared to those days, yes, things have gotten significantly better. And there are a significant more opportunities for us to live in a much better situation. I didn't say it was perfect. I just said better. Right? Because we can point to a number of things right now that's in America that's broken. You know what I mean? So that's an easy thing to do, right? But when it comes to opportunities that are out there, things that you can do to improve yourself, things that you can do to improve your community or whatever, there are numbers of opportunities out there. And if you choose to leave or stay, that should be up to you. But the one thing that I've always been against, even when I was in the Hebrew space, the Hebrew world, was I was never going to get up here and tell people you need to flee America. I never bought into that. I never, ever bought into that because because the reality is that a lot of people simply can't afford to just pick up and leave. You understand what I'm saying? And not just afford, it may not be feasible. It may not be the right thing for you to do. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, if you got things going on and popping here in the States, why are you just going to drop it and just leave it? You know what I mean? Out of what? Fear? unfortunately, when you listen to a lot of these people out here, and I'm talking Negroes that are out here trying to scare you and tell you, you better leave because it's too late. We get ready to, oh, the fires are coming. Oh, it's coming, y'all. It's coming. You know, what that does, it puts into people fear. And when you're in a fearful state, a lot of times you don't think things all the way through, do you? And so it's that, and I'll touch on that a little bit more as we're going on here. But then you also got people who, another thing I experienced was coming across a lot of people saying, you know what, we need to go off and we need to buy our own land. We need to go, you know, here in America. We ain't gonna go to Africa. We ain't gonna go to the Caribbean. No, we're gonna be right here and we're gonna buy a whole bunch of land. Now, again, that's something I'm not against that. I mean, land ownership, property ownership, I'm all for that. But when I do pump the brakes is when I'm approached by people I don't know, who online they may say things I agree with, but to drop a few $1,000s or tens of thousands of dollars into a project, you know, where we're going to buy land and we're all going to put our money together and all this stuff. No, I'm not doing that. Absolutely. No, I don't care. No. But Dwayne, it's going to be the next Black Wall Street. Yeah, but Black Wall Street ain't around no more. Okay. So, so no, I'm not doing that. No, I think it's on paper. Okay. On paper, it sounds like a great idea. On paper. Are there examples where, you know, people have done that and it's worked out? Yeah, I'm sure if you look hard enough. But my opinion, me, would I participate in something like that? No, I would not, because I personally have seen too many bad examples of how that's kind of going about. I'll give you one example. There was one example in, we did a video on this. You remember that news story that was going around? I mean, it was a big PR campaign on this. It was a group of Black families that got together and they said that we're going to buy some land. And I did a video on it. You just scroll back, you'll find it. And in Georgia, they said they're going to buy a whole bunch of land. It was like, I forgot how many acres. It was a lot. And yeah, they bought a whole, and they had all the families up there and all that. And, you know, Black folks like, yes, see, this is it. Well, like a lot of things, I said, isn't it interesting? I haven't heard anything in some time. Let me see let me do a little homework and find out. Let me just do a little bit of investigation and find out what happened. Well, come to find out, it didn't take much. You know, looking at local records, they said, child, they still ain't got no building permits. And this has been going back since, we're talking 4 to 5 years. They still ain't got no permits. Meanwhile, that story's still circulating. It'll pop up every now and then. People like, oh man, see, we doing, you know, and I was just like, okay. And then I looked even further, the people who actually were the founders, it was like 3 or 4 Black women. And one of them, I don't know the exact acreage. I can't recall right now, but let's just say it was like over 100. 90 of those acres were owned by one woman. And I'm sitting up here like, okay, how is this working out? And next thing I know, these women that kicked this whole thing off and was saying, yeah, we doing all this stuff. And next time I look, they're doing something else. They were doing some girls' power retreat somewhere. And I'm like, well, where's the girls? You ain't even got girls' power. You ain't even got Georgia power on the land. Look, you talking about girls' power. What about Georgia power? You know what I'm saying? So I personally, I'm sorry, I have seen too many bad examples. Again, not saying that it can't work. I'm just simply saying what I see in this is not, I don't buy into the whole thing that Black folks simply can't work together. I don't buy into that because there's too many examples of Black folks who do work good together. You understand? So I never say that. But what I will say is this, is that I do find that a lot of times, you know, Black folks will buy into things and not really do a whole lot of research. And so when that happens, unfortunately, that's when you get these bad examples that pop up. Do you understand? And so anytime when I'm approached by people, and I am from time to time, and they'll say, hey, listen, this is opportunity for, what do you think about it or whatever? And I say, well, you do your research. How long have you known these people? Have you read the contract? Do you have your own attorney? That kind of stuff. And then usually it's none of the above. And so this is where on this platform, this is what we try to do, is encourage folks. We're not going to sit up here and tell you what not to do because you're an adult, you're grown, right? But we are going to encourage people, listen, investigate. This is why we're doing the whole series on the brain, because a lot of people don't have used the thing. You understand what I'm saying? So, and yeah, so that leads us to this story here. Let me see if did I move this video over here? If not, I will play you this video here. Now, this is a family. There are several families, a couple of families I have followed. Now, when I say families, I'm talking, these are black folks who have moved out and bought a huge piece of land or whatever. There's a family here in Arizona. I forgot how many acres they bought, but beautiful piece of land in Arizona. And they seem like they're doing quite well, and they're working together as a husband and wife, And there was some other examples that I've seen, people doing the same thing. So again, I'm all for it. I'm just saying, do your research. Like, for example, moving out here in Arizona, if you're going to move, Arizona is cool, right? Well, it was cool place to live. I ain't talking like cool as in, because it's 105 right now, but you understand what I'm saying. It's a nice place to live. But if you're talking about moving out into the like southern Arizona, like way out, or like somewhere between Sedona and Amazon, Phoenix, all that open space, beautiful land. It's beautiful land. But let me tell you something. There's a lot of things running around out there, and there are people out there that ain't gonna probably be maybe too happy to see you, but you just have to do your research. That's what I'm saying. If you're gonna do something like that, I would tell people, man, make sure you take some time and really investigate before you do something like that. But hey, you got the money, you got the resources, you've done the research, man, go do you, live your life big. Anyway, it's this one family that I have followed in the past, and I do hear most of the time I'm hearing from the wife. We're hearing from the wife. Husband, he's kind of like in the background, like hey, whatever. But most of the time it's the wife, and she has I don't know their names, okay. And they made a decision a couple of years ago. They made a decision to move out to Montana. Never been to Montana. I haven't, but I've heard it's beautiful. I mean, all the pictures and images I've seen, it's very beautiful. Well, they made a decision to move out there, and basically they want to become homesteaders. Okay, homesteaders. Now, when you move out, and I believe they have 46 acres of land, 46 acres, so it's pretty massive. That's pretty big. There's people who've got more land than that, obviously, but I mean, that's pretty big. You could do a lot with that. You could build a small town on that, for real. And if you go on their TikTok, on their YouTube, sweeping views, beautiful. And, she's, when you watch the video, she's on this, black folks, we can do this too. And black folks, we can live like this too, and all this kind of stuff. And, it's cool. Okay, I'm glad you got yours. You know what I'm saying? And if you're going to live, before I make this next point, I'm going to play this video, but I'm on Twitter the other day. I see this video of this woman, and it's not her channel. It just randomly pulled up. Next thing I know, she talking about she in Canada. I was like, what? What happened to Montana? And yeah, they decided to move to Canada. And so I was like, oh boy, what done happened there? All right, so let me play this video. I think this one, she's actually giving some explanation, a little bit of explanation, but you can go to her, I think it's Black Home Educators or something like that. I think that's the name of it. And y'all, you know, if you follow this individual, y'all, I'm not hating on anybody, okay? Some people get so in their feelings if you touch someone that they really, really like. I'm not hating on, I don't even know these people do hate them, okay? I'm just simply commenting on what she has posted on social media. So anyway, here's a video here. Let's take a look at it together, and then I'm gonna show you some other clips, some other screenshots I was able to grab. Okay, so here we go.
You know, the longer my family and I are in Canada, the more I see that we believed that American lie. We believe that American lie that, you know, oh, America's the best country on the planet, you know, and we've been chasing that American dream. And, you know, with everything that's happening in the USA, my family was like, you know what, we need a break. And I'll tell you, we are finally just exhaling here in Calgary, Alberta. And just today I was on the playground and I met a gentleman from Tanzania, and he began to tell me about his country. And long story short, in that little exchange, I learned so much about his country. And this is what I love about Canada: the diversity, the kindness of Canadians, plus our USD goes further. And so I've been getting a lot of questions from people about, you know, how did we do this? Right now we're on a 6-month tourist visa here, but I have taken time to put all of the information on not just Canada, but 8 countries in total, how you can live that American dream abroad. So it's called Exit the USA, Finding Freedom Abroad, and you can get your copy with using the link right here in this video. It has a ton of information. We are a homeschooling family. I talk to you about schooling options, different visa options, currency, financing, budgeting, how to find housing in another country. Get your copy of this guide today.
Okay, so she kind of gave a little bit of explanation here. I was able to find another video here. I'm trying to remember what this one said, but I'll just play this one and then we'll get down to business here. Okay, so let me play this other video.
Hi y'all, so most of you probably started following me from one of my videos talking about our 46 acres of land in Montana. And I know I have not been active here on TikTok as much, but I wanted to let you know what our family has been up to. We have been spending a lot of time in Canada, Calgary, Alberta to be exact. And what we're doing is we are in a pursuit of a second home. We're not going to give up our land in Montana. In fact, Calgary is only 5 hours from our homestead there. My husband and I decided that we want to try to pursue a second home outside of the U.S. and we've been going back and forth to Calgary on a tourist visa for the past 4 years, and we absolutely love it. Now, we understand that racism doesn't stop at a border, but I can tell you that Canadians are nice, friendly, helpful, and when I am in Calgary, I feel like I can breathe. I feel like I don't have to have my defenses up so high. And we absolutely love the diversity in Calgary. The diversity is amazing compared to Montana. Yeah. And we love all of the children activities and opportunities for our kids. Being here for the last 2 weeks straight on our tourist visa, it is not surprising why Canada ranks number 4 on the list of where U.S. citizens are trying to move. I am currently working with an immigration attorney who is advising me on how to get my permanent residency here.
Canada has immigration laws like any other country, and my family respects those laws. I am a nurse, so I am pursuing that route in healthcare with my 20 years of healthcare experience. I also have experience running a healthcare company for 2 decades. So I am hopeful that my family will have the opportunity to get a second home because we absolutely love it. And if you want to follow our journey, I am writing all about.
Yeah, so she's promoting her book or whatever. Like I said again, that's fine. I don't have an issue with please, out of anybody, I definitely shouldn't be saying like I have an issue with black folks moving. I don't have an issue with that at all. Our family, for example, we've lived in multiple states. It just things didn't even work out, or there was, it's amazing how a death in the family or 2 deaths in the family can cause things just to radically change seemingly overnight. We can talk all about that just from personal experience, where you just got to pick up and leave, or all of a sudden, the person that you was renting on, the company you was renting under, they all of a sudden said, we're going to jack your rent up by almost, was it like $700 or something like that? And it's like, oh snap, we can't stick around here, and then you got to scrape up money somewhere to try to get a moving truck and all of that. So I know all about that, right? But on one hand, I'm just listening to what she's saying, because what she's saying is, was talking about the racism that she's experienced, particularly in the state that they were in, and they still own land, at least according to the video, is in Montana. So I paused for a second and I was like, well, what did you expect? I mean, you in Montana, you know what I mean? That was the first thing. But the bigger thing was, well, if you're going to buy a homestead, if you're buying a homestead, okay, 46 acres, people who generally buy a homestead or that many amount of acreage, you're not buying that amount of land so that you can find out what's going on next door. You know what I'm saying? Typically, people who own that amount of land are people who really don't want to be bothered with anybody else. You understand? Now, then you go downtown, if there's a local town or something like that, and if there's something you experience down there, that's a different story. You know what I mean? I've been in places like that as well. I don't care. I honestly don't care. I'm like, man, these people, they looked at me and all. I don't care about that stuff. I'm like, man, listen, my money green, right? You see this black face, right? You don't like that, right? Let's see, I just make it clear. You don't like this black face, right? Well, no, I don't like it. No, I don't like it. I'm like, okay, do you like this green though? Well, yeah, okay, then we straight. You know what I'm saying? And that just cuts to the chase, right? In most cases, that cuts to the chase. Now, if we're talking about, I don't know, cross burning in your lawn, something like that, or maybe they're poisoning your animals, or threatening to bomb you, something like that. Okay, I get it. But as someone who has followed this individual and listened to them, and they listen to their messaging, baked in their messaging is, hey, listen, you need to move or relocate to spaces like this because it gives you an opportunity to basically to move away from a lot of this racism that's out there. And that's the messaging that she kind of put out there, as they were going in their whole pursuit of moving to Montana. But anybody that kind of understands, okay, well, Montana isn't exactly known for, rolling out the red carpet for people who aren't white. That's just what it is. You understand what I'm saying? But if you're going to move there and get a homestead, I get that, right? I get it, because you ain't trying, like, honestly, if that kind of opportunity presented itself and my homestead had everything I needed, I wouldn't mind moving up there. I really wouldn't, because my mindset is I ain't trying to be bothered with nobody else. You understand what I'm saying? I got all my land. My kids, they got their houses. If we had that, we were really set up, I wouldn't mind that. But It's the image. It's the idea that a lot of times people like this individual and others, they try to sell to other black folks as if there's this way that somehow you can escape from racism. And I'm sorry, that's kind of what she's been putting out here. And so there are a lot of black folks who have bought into that. And they buy into it not just because of her. There's other people I can point to too. I mentioned Ron Dalton, with his whole, you better get the hell out of, the United States now because America is falling and this is the promised land and all of that. Where's the promised land? Oh, it's in Johannesburg. Johannesburg, that's the promised land. The Johannesburg, that's the promised land. Okay, all right, okay. Where you live? Oh, I live in an Airbnb, but this is the promised land. Okay. And there's many other examples I can give you. The reason why I'm talking about this story is because of the fact that it's just, again, another example, another kind, gentle warning I'm trying to give to many folks out here, because there are many people out here that are trying to capitalize on the fears that black folks may have when it comes to, some of the things that some black folks do encounter, living here in the United States. You understand what I'm saying? And so now they done moved from Montana and now they're looking into moving to Canada. Well, let's take a look and see what Canada got any issues? Is that maybe the promised land for that? Let me see. Let's see. Oh, man. Okay. What systemic racism in Canada look like? Living in color, the history of anti-black racism in Canada. Black doctor shares struggles with racism growing up in Canada. Is systemic racism a problem in Canada? Let's see what else. We got defining systemic racism in Canada. The reality of being black in Canada. And it goes on and on and on. I mean, you just go right here on YouTube. People gonna tell you what's going. My point is this. And she mentioned it. I'll give her credit for that. There is no place that you're going to escape from something like, I'm saying racism, but let's break it down even further. There's no place that you're going to find on earth where everybody likes you. Okay, let me put it that way. There's no place that you're going to find it. The big problem that you'll find when a lot of people buy into, I got to get out of here, it's not so much of what they are claiming that they're experiencing. It's what they're really trying to run away from more often than not is themselves. That's what's happening. I am not denying that America has some issues. It does. But when I sit back and listen to some of these people who like, I had to get out of there because, if you look at some of the videos, they're like, yeah, because what they did to Rodney King. I'm like, Rodney King, that was back in the 90s. But why, and you just now, that's just now hitting home with you. I mean, you know what I mean? They'll be referencing stuff, and it's like, okay, that was the last straw for you, but what was your day-to-day like? Did you encounter that every day? Well, no, but I just don't want that coming to my door. Okay, well, there's things you can do to prevent that. You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of things you can do. We are not, again, I have to say it again for the ignorant folk in the back. I am not sitting up here saying that America is 110% a place where, that doesn't have its issues. But I will be honest and say that every day I walk out this door, I'm not ducking bullets, or I'm not looking around and the cops are right there like, okay, we finally got us a nigger. I don't deal with that. I don't. Now, there are stores I've gone to where people look at me kind of funny and all that kind of stuff. And I'll be like, man, whatever. I keep right on moving. Or I'll say, hey, to somebody or whatever, and they look down or whatever. That happens sometime too. But you know what? I'll also have times where people, old folks, I'm talking about white folks, will come, and if I'm carrying something heavy, they'll be like, hey, you need some help? You need some help? Let me help you. I've encountered a lot of that too. And it's like a lot of times people don't want to even acknowledge those things. We just want to focus on the bad. Speaking of which, let me switch to this. So when I go to, her TikTok here, Let me find, because she did. Now she mentioned. Okay, here it is. So one of her TikToks, she talks about this. It's one of hers right here. Again, I'm not beating up on this woman, y'all. Okay, this is just, let's learn from this. Okay, that's the whole point of this, right? So she does a video here. I'm not going to play it, but I want you to take note of a couple of things. She says, story time, Montana builders who refuse to build our home due to our race. Now, again, I'm a firm believer that there's always three sides to every story. I'm not saying that didn't happen, because if you listen to the video, she talks about and explains her side of the story, right? Basically, I think what happened, she got a call or something that people were, a couple of builders that were excited, and they say, hey, listen, we'll come out, we're going to look at your land and all of that. Let's go. So she jumped on a plane, went out there, and they went, and according to her, when they saw that she was a black woman, then they, all of a sudden, the attitudes changed and all that kind of stuff. Did it happen? Did it not happen? Don't know, wasn't there. But only word we have right now is her account of it. So we'll just go with that. No problem, right? And so she's talking about this experience, about what happened to her, right? Okay, so let's go in and look at this one here. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I'm pulling up the right one. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is them here. Today is our 2-year house build anniversary on our 46-acre ranch in Montana. And then it says, my husband's reaction to seeing our calf for the first time after arriving back to our ranch in Montana. So they clearly found somebody. They clearly found somebody that was like, okay, yeah, I'll build it. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, this is the good news part of it, right? They got somebody to build the land. So it must not be that bad. Okay. But I want you to take a look at the view counts. All right. So one video, 4,100, another one, 2,284. It's, you know, that's based on her numbers. It's nominal. You know what I mean? Now I'm gonna go back to the video, to the image that I just had on there. Look at the numbers on this one, 36,000. Now, see, this is what I'm talking about. Again, not her in particular, but this is what I wrestle with as a content creator. When you're celebrating an accomplishment and achievement, particularly as black folks, especially something like this, where she's talking about, it's like, yeah. But then you want to have story time. Again, I'm not picking on her. I'm just using her as an example because there are other examples as well. This is just one. Look at the interest in it. 36,000 people all locked in. All right. And let me go on and move up to this one here. This is another one. It's doing pretty good. Showing off her acreage, you know, rainy day on our 46-acre homestead in Montana. Good for them. And some, you know, interest is pretty high on that. Good for them. Let me go to, did I move everything over here? Let me see. Here's another one here. Okay, so here's one. Okay, so the house is built, and guess what happens? She was talking about, if you follow her storyline, she was talking about how it was something to the effect that she had a very good experience. I believe it was on Delta Airlines. And Delta Airlines, I guess she must have mentioned to them that, hey, I'm a content creator, so forth and so on. Well, guess what Delta Airlines did in this very racist, demonic country we're in? Delta Airlines sent out a pilot. They sent a black pilot out to their house to encourage their children who were showing interest in becoming pilots. So here you got Delta Airlines sending out a pilot. How many of y'all had an actual pilot come to your house? Not me. To encourage the children, hey, listen, we heard that you looking at and wanting to be a pilot. You know, Delta seeing an opportunity to get some good PR out. They took advantage of it, and they jumped on it. That sure is a lot of bad. I got to get out of this country. It's just the racism is just choking me. I had to get out of there. I couldn't take it anymore. This ain't looking like that. Okay, let's go on to this one here. So yeah, this is the other one I found. Now that video that I shared with you where she was talking, the first one was sitting down and she was explaining this, that her family moved to or looking into moving to Canada. Here's the other image here. Now take a note of the view count of this one. I think this is a wonderful story. 1,900 people interested in it. Wonderful story. Yeah, whatever. Now let's look at this one. Oh my God. $2.5 million. $2.5 million. 2.5 billion views and counting. Y'all, I tell you, America is such a bad, wicked place. You start pushing content out like this, y'all, everybody's interested in it. There's a reason why I'm talking about all this. Okay, I'm done with that. And we're going to move on to our other stories here. But there's a reason why. And this is all tied in. Y'all don't understand. I mean, the amount of time I put in when I'm piecing these stories together, all of these things, I try to make them all related. The reason why I'm mentioning this is this whole story that I just went through is that don't allow people to determine your outcome. Don't allow people to steer you on like emotions, right? Don't allow that. Don't even allow yourself to do that. Because here you got individuals who are bought into the idea, oh, I can finally get away from racism. Let me move to Montana, or maybe move to somewhere like a Montana. I cannot tell you the amount of times I have encountered black folks. I've crossed paths with black folks who have saw some things on social media, saw some things online, and they said, you know what? I took my whole 401k or whatever, and I just said, let's go for it. And I'm like, well, how much research did you do to it? Well, not that much. But I just know this is it. I just felt it in my bones. Again, I am not saying, please hear me what I'm saying. I am not saying that it's impossible and black folks are incapable of going somewhere and building and land and all that stuff. There's too many examples where that does work. But who I'm talking to are the people who don't put in what's required to live that kind of life. But also, you have to have the understanding, okay, why am I doing this? Am I trying to run away from the ghost of Jim Crow or the ghost of racism? Because you're never going to outrun that. You understand what I'm saying? There's always going to be people who are not going to like you for whatever reason. But if you make a move like that, make a move knowing full well, hey, listen, hey, we're going to do this and that's it. We've done our research. We good. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say here, because there's too many people, our black folks, especially, that it's just, we don't put in, think these things through. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm trying to say on this. So I hope you got something out of that segment. Okay. Because when I saw this, I'm like, wait a minute, you in Canada? In 4 years, you're going to be where, in Alaska? It's just, it never ends for some people. And the last thing I will say is this: in your moving, are you running away from racism, or you run away from yourself? And what I find out when I'm just listening to people, a lot of times people are just running away from themselves, and they think that by doing that, somehow you are fleeing all of these other world problems, when in reality, you got your same mess that you bring it along with you. You understand what I'm saying? So the moral of the story is, get yourself fixed first before you embark on something like that, because it's a lot. There's a lot that's involved in that. So anyway, that's all I'll say on that. But again, I'm not beating up on the woman. I ain't beating up on the family. But it's what you're putting out, the messaging you're putting out. I see how the adverse effect that has on a lot of people who just lock in, and just because I got to get away from racism. That's all my point is. So anyway, let's move on to the next story here. Let's see. This was downloads. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, this one right. Okay. So yeah, so as you know, there's been a couple of stories that we've let me see what lady is saying here. Hold on for a second. Let's see. Y'all, if I ever I'm very close to hitting that ban button. Lady, I wasn't trying to hit the ban button on you. I'm just mentioning sometimes that where that button is located, it's too close. So if I accidentally do it, please don't take it personal. I literally just accidentally hit it. But this case, we good here, ladies. So anyway, we said I'm gonna move abroad to either South. I don't know if okay, I would guess SA means South America, Belize, Mexico, Kenya, or Tanzania, because I want a lower cost of living, a different culture, access to the ocean, cleaner, better and quality foods and tropical weather. Shoot, that's everything I'm looking for real. I mean, I'm very open to still moving. You know what I mean? But you see the reasons that they gave? That's good. That's good. And I would assume, Miss Lady, that you're doing your research on all of these different areas. You know what I'm saying? Because it's one thing I find a lot, there are numbers of people who make decisions based off of what they just see on YouTube alone. You got to spend some time in these areas. Like she mentioned, like Belize, I was looking at Belize too. In fact, it's a very good close family that we know that we have a working relationship with. They're from Belize. And we were trying to put something together. We were like, let me see here, man. It sounds like this may be the hookup here, And I kept looking into it. Belize is, it's if you were going to jump on Belize, for a lot of people, that would have been right before COVID, because now too many people know about it. So a lot of pricing is going up, but it's still a lot of opportunity in places like Belize. But when they heard about Belize, they said certain parts, man. See, my biggest thing personally is mosquitoes and bugs. I'm not scared of them. I just want to. Out here in Arizona, it may feel like I'm walking in an oven, but I'm not swatting bugs out here because it's too hot for them. That's how much I'm like, I'll take this kind of heat if I ain't got to deal with that. But I know, but there's plenty of people who live in those environments and they're like, man, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? So that's something I would have to get used to, right? But other than that, everything you just mentioned here, as far as like those, the food, the quality of food, girl, please, we can talk about that. In comparison to what's here in America, please, you are right on with that when it comes to quality of food, when it comes to living expenses and all of that. Please, you right up the alley. So those are very good reasons. If you're looking to relocate, let it be because of those reasons, not because someone trying to scare the hell out of you. You understand what I'm saying? There's plenty of videos out here, on YouTube where you have black folks who are moving because of those reasons that, that she listed. Those are very good reasons. You know what I mean? If you're looking in that direction. But also for those who choose not to, and they say, hey, listen, I'm just going to make it here in the States. What I'm saying is we have to be honest and say, yes, there are plenty of opportunities here. You just have to, like anything else, you got to think it all the way out. You know what I'm saying? Ideally, where I'm trying to get to is a place where I'm growing everything and I ain't got to depend on this, and all my power is solar, and I got access to my own water and all that. That's the kind of stuff I want, because I don't need all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where I would like to, that's where I'm aiming. I'm just waiting for the bullets to come in. I'm a good aimer. You know what I mean? I'm aiming. I just ain't got no ammunition right now. I'm just saying. So anyway, but it's coming though. Yeah, I every day I say I hear the ammo truck coming. Anyway. But anyway, moving on to the next thing here. This is something else, I've noticed too, by getting your mind right. Okay. Let me put this on the screen here. Many of y'all heard of OnlyFans. I introduced to you Only Judgment. Only Judgment. And these are familiar ones that are out here. two of many who are out here that are taking, I mean, they are just, you heard of the situation out there in Texas, sad situation, where the river just rose up and just swept a whole girl camp just away. All these people died and all this stuff, very unfortunate. And I said, you just give it a moment. Just give it a moment. Here come the judgment folks. Here they come. And boy, they right on cue. Here you got the guy here. Since the whole healing of the sick and raising of the dead ain't working, let's fantasize about some judgment. Oh yeah, it's so exciting. Oh, the videos are out, and people only judgment. And folks will literally fantasize about this stuff. Anytime they hear about some kind of destruction, it's, the drill. The drill. It's judgment time. Oh, the world is on fire, y'all. It's getting ready to burn down. And then when you ask these same people, okay, well, what you gonna do? What's your plan? Well, the guy, he gonna come, he gonna open up the sky. We gonna go up. That's your plan. That's your plan. You waiting for the sky to part. What else? What's your plan B? Well, I mean, he gonna take us away. Okay. Is there any precedent of that ever? No, but I just know, I'm just very confident that's what's going to happen. Okay, but what are you doing now? Are you doing any kind of prep work now? Any other preparation? Like, let's just say a bomb was to drop off, tomorrow. What would be, do you have any kind of planning going on, or did you plan it all? An event of something like that, anything at all? Nope, we ain't gonna do that at all. And we gonna be straight. These same people will spend all this time in the world, and it just amazes me. I said, man, if I ever want to get increased numbers, I can definitely do some videos and talk about, man, every time I saw a train wreck out or a car wreck, it's coming. It's judgment. God is angry. And I said, well, and it's something that this God that you're referring to, what about the whole, and let me bring that up again. I mean, maybe y'all didn't see that. I don't know. Maybe y'all didn't see that again. Let me bring that up again. What about the whole healing of the sick and raising of the dead thing? Why is it that this is the only demonstration that can be done is destruction? What about healing of the sick and raising of the dead? Now, listen, I'm not clowning y'all, anybody that is into this. Was in it myself. You understand what I'm saying? So I ain't sitting up on Mount Dwayne and up here looking, I sit it high and look it low, please. Years of experience, 40 years, 40. Okay. A lot of experience repeating a lot of the same stuff. But one day I had to wake up. One day I had to start actually reading and investigating these things myself and asking some very basic questions, about some of these things here. And what's very important is, what are we doing to prepare? What are we doing to prepare our families and making sure that, first of all, you got to determine who is family, right? Because not everybody that just because they came out of the same womb or whatever, it don't mean they're necessarily family. There's some folks, they crazy. Okay. And you need to part ways with them. You know what I mean? Or if they have the same color, we ain't all cousins and aunties and all that. You'll never hear me going around talking about, yay, auntie, uncle. Nope, I don't do that. I have too much respect for those names. I ain't gonna just throw that on anybody. But here's the thing. There are real things that have been happening and will continue to happen. There are a lot of people who will get hurt. Just this weekend, for example, like you saw the post I did the other day. It was funny. I had one of the comments I had on there, and they were talking about this is a misrepresentation, of what we're all about here or whatever. And I was kind of poking fun at right here. Let me bring it up on the screen here. Right here. And here you go, tethers. And it said, I'm so glad I ain't got nothing to do with Africa. And don't sit up here and lie and act like black folks here haven't been making fun of, folks from Africa or the Caribbean or whatever. OK, yes, I'm aware it goes both ways. I get it. But let's not pretend that we ain't got nothing to do with this. OK, that's true. And so then, so they make fun of, in many African traditions. They do, pray over the water, bodies of water, mama wata, all that stuff. That's, it's baked into their spirituality. And so you got people who will make fun of that. Then fast forward, Lake Lanier, recently there was a story that came out where some people, I don't know if they died or seriously injured, one of the two. And this is the reaction of those same people. The ancestors are speaking, y'all. Oh, the ancestors, they're speaking. They're letting us know. They are letting us know, and I'm like, okay, you on one hand want to act like you ain't got nothing to do with these folks, but you do everything that, anyway, you get what I'm saying. So anyway, I just brought that up. I don't know why, but anyway, my point is that yes, there's foolishness that's out here. We have to begin to focus on the people that we really call ourselves, people that are really our people. And what I mean by that is not a title. It doesn't have to be FBA. It doesn't have to be ADOS, because even within that, let me say this with my full chest. Okay. Let me say this with my full chest, because I don't hide. Okay. Even with that, I am never rolling with any titled group. Okay. Let me say this again. I am never, ever, after my experience in years and years and years in religion and Christianity and the Hebrew stuff, I am never rolling with any group, any titled group. No, not doing that, because I can't take responsibility for other people's foolishness. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Because a lot of times I'm looking at the comments. I don't see nothing. I'm like, well, maybe people don't hear what I'm saying. Maybe they're not. I don't know. Maybe the mic ain't working. I don't know. I'm not looking for an attaboy. I just want to make sure people hear what I'm saying. My point, no, I'm not going to align myself with no titled group, because how many more experiences I need with that? This is the time right now. You have to begin to focus on you and start building your own networks. How many times have I said this? This is the time you need to start doing this. We can't depend on the government. We can't depend on these systems and all of that. You have to begin to focus on you. And this is what our focus is here, on this platform. The reason why we do, like when I do these news broadcasts and stuff like that, listen, ask yourself. I really want you to ask that. You don't have to answer it in the chat, but I want you to ask yourself this. When you go on social media, most times, are you expecting to actually learn something, or are you there expecting to hear what's the latest bad news? Most people, it's the latter. See, I don't got time for that anymore. Once I started realizing that, I was like, no, I don't want to hear any more bad news. You know what I mean? I don't. It ain't helping me. So what I figured out is I said, okay, I want to put something together where we're going to touch on things that are, unfortunately, it may appear it is bad news, but how can we learn from this so that we can turn this into something of a learning experience? So anytime you see on my thumbnails when I'm saying I'm talking about the news, don't just think I'm just sitting here rattling off news items and keep it moving. No, I'm gonna steer this thing in such a way where, hey, we can learn something from this, and maybe we can get encouraged so that we're not repeating some of that same stuff. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's what we're committed to. My wife and I, we're committed to that. And getting people to begin to really invest and believe in yourself. And this is a good segue to, what we're talking about as far as what we're doing, for example, on Samba Tree. Okay. My wife right now, we got a class that is happening it's going to be happening, I believe it's on the 20th. Okay. But the early bird special right now, it's about going. I mean, this is the last day to sign up for it. The last day. Now, why are we doing this? Now, the title of it, the class itself is dealing with alternative day fasting. Now, many times if you hear someone talk about fasting, you automatically check out because of whatever reason. I ain't trying to lose no weight. I ain't trying to be without food, whatever. But a lot of times when we're dealing with food, food is a drug. It can be a drug. It can be very addictive. I understand. I get it. I know. Okay. I get it. But what we're trying to get people to see is that this is more than just, we're not just dealing with here losing weight. Okay. There are plenty of programs out here where you can lose weight. We're not doing it this is not what this is about. Let me put on the screen some things. I actually posted this on the community page, but let me post some of these images up here. Okay. Just really quick here. Alternate day fasting benefit pyramid, weight loss at the bottom. Of course, that's the first thing you're going to see. Metabolic tune-up, inflammation control, and brain mood. Okay. This is what we're trying to get to. All right. Let me show you some of these other ones. Just showing you very quickly some of the things what this addresses here. Inflammation linked conditions hitting Black Americans hard. Hypertension and heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, chronic kidney disease, asthma, COPD, osteoarthritis. These are things that if you're not dealing with it, I'm sure many of you know somebody who is. We have the opportunity in our hands right now to eliminate these things out, cleanse ourselves and our family members of these conditions. I don't buy this BS that the American Heart Association and all these other medical bodies that put these death curses on Black folks to try to make it seem that somehow we are born with these deficiencies. They need to get the hell out of that with that foolishness. No. Your body is a almost near perfect machine. And the reason why it gets clogged up and beat up is because a lot of times we don't know what we're doing because we were not properly educated. And you can blame a lot of that on a number of things. And what we're saying is, no, let's fix this. Obesity impacts on Black Americans. Nearly 1 in 2 Black adults, 49.6% have obesity. Black adults are 30% more likely to be obese than white adults. About 1 in 4 Black youths between the ages of 6 and 17 have obesity, 23.5%. And see, a lot of times what happens is we will focus on the conspiracies. Dum, dum, dum. They're putting stuff in our food. Okay, you can, because that's comfortable. But what about the conspiracy that you're participating in, knowing this stuff full well, but still opting to indulge yourself in these things? You understand what I'm saying? We want to put a stop to that. And what we're saying is it can happen. You can do this. You could do this. As the view count goes down, but that's okay. Anyway, and then you got this one, metabolic tune-up, better numbers, better life. About 1 in 3 Black adults have metabolic syndrome, 34.7%. Alternate day fasting can cut fasting insulin by 25% in 4 weeks. In 4 weeks. I'm trying to tell you, these are things you could do right now. Do you know how many Black folks have gone to church for years and years and years and years and years and have put in that offering bucket tens of thousands of dollars in these buckets? And one day he gonna heal me. Honey, all you got to do, you got to put in another love offering. You got to put in another love offering. We need another love offering. And maybe one day, if the doctors, if they can figure it out, you will get healed. Aren't you tired of that? Or you can do something about it now. And anyway, here you go right here. 10 to 20% drop in triglycerides seen after 2 months of ADF. These are all facts, y'all. These are all facts. And I got one more here. Brain and mood boost for Black Americans. Black adults are 20% more likely to experience serious psychological distress. Black Americans face nearly 2 times the risk of Alzheimer's versus whites. Alternate day fasting increases BDNF by 50% and improved working memory by 20% in 4-week trial. I have a video. This has been a rough week for us, for me. But I have a video that I'm going to get out soon. We're going to be talking about the benefits of writing with your left hand. All right. We're going to be talking about that because I've been doing this and I'm seeing some results, and I can't wait to share those results with you. But we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the history of it. OK, I would go into it right now, but that needs to be its own video. So stay tuned for that. We'll talk about that. OK, but there's a whole history involved in that, and it involves the educational system, and it also involves religion as well. All right. I'm telling you, you're going to get a lesson on that one. So we're going to talk about that. So yes. So here you go. You can either just talk about problems or build solutions. What's the choice going to be? I refuse to be a platform where we just simply talking about the bad parts of news and what's going on. Oh Lord, and you see what these folks are doing now. Or we can figure out and talk about some solutions. Those solutions begin at home. Remember what I was telling you about with the whole thing with the what was it? Are you running away? Are you just moving because you want to move because you want, to live a better life? Or are you running away from yourself? You know what I mean? These are questions that you need to ask yourself and be honest about it. Okay. All right, let's move on here. Let me jump to this one here. State of California. Let me bring this up here. They just recently passed some laws here. I want you to take a look at this here. Let me bring this up on the screen. Can y'all see that? Okay, y'all can see that. It's a little bit blocked for me, so I'll be reading off my phone, okay? So let's take a look at this. So state of California. Now, what I want you to keep in mind, too, as we're looking at this, I want you to keep in mind, you remember a few years ago where, black folks on social media was like, oh, my God, these black girls, they're disappearing all over the place. This is in the Washington, D.C. area. We got to find our girls. They're snatching our girls off the streets and all of this other stuff. Remember all of that? Black folks are getting all worked up and all that. And then the very black and the very female chief of police at that time, she got up and said, no, they're not. Nobody's snatching them. They actually are runaways. And then once that came out, all of a sudden people got quiet. And they moved on to the next thing. But runaways, the runaway issue is still a very big issue. It's still a very big issue, particularly pertaining to our black children. Yes, there are many black children who are running away from home. Isn't it something? On one hand, you got the same community. That's talking about running away from America because America's so racist. But the same community won't sit down and talk about the thousands upon thousands of children who are running away from home. I think I need to rewind that again. Okay, let me rewind that again, okay? You got folks out here who are saying that you need to get out of Dodge. You need to get out of America because America is so freaking racist and it's dangerous and they trying to kill us in the streets and, old Trump, he's coming after us and all this other stuff, right? Meanwhile, you have children by the thousands, black children by the thousands who are running away from their very black homes. Now, why is it that if I talk this way, people get quiet and they don't want, think about it. Good. I hope you're thinking about it. This is real. This is real. Now, you got to be very concerned about this. Let's look at this on the screen, okay? This is what they're doing in California, but I guarantee you they're doing pieces of this all over the country. This is in California. They said this is a picture of what's happening in California. And their name of the bills, AB 665, allows for children 12 plus to run away from home and to check into a residential shelter ran by the state. No parental notification or no due process. an unrelated adult can help facilitate the move passed into law. So your child, if they said, I'm getting out of this house, they can run to a state facility and the parents don't even need to know. AB 223 is an unrelated adult may change a minor's birth certificate passed into law. Let me read that again. This is AB 223. An unrelated adult may change a minor's birth certificate. AB 495, unrelated adult can sign a simple form and gain custody of an adult. If the parent's signature isn't present, the adults taking responsibility can checkmark parents unavailable to be located. Said adult can then make a medical and educational choices for that child. I hope you're listening. AB 727 mandates schools provide the Trevor Project as a resource. If a child signs up for the Trevor Space site, they will have access to chat rooms where adults are able to contact them privately. There is no age verification, and rooms have, quote unquote, littles, an age registration chat room. An age regression chat room. This is, quote unquote, gay men and witchcraft, among other rooms. So when they talk about age regression, I think that's like, you know how you got some of these dusty, rusty men be wearing these little Betty Boop little dresses and all that, Holly Hobby and all of that, little dresses and all of that. And they, my name is Amy and I'm 55 years old and got these rusty knees and all that. And they be walking around with a baby and go, goo, goo, gag, gag, sit on my lap. Don't come to me. Don't come anywhere near me. But this is what's going on. You remember the video that I showed, what was it, a couple of weeks ago? So black guy, he's in, what state was it in? What state was that in? I want to say Colorado. It's a video that I showed a while back, but it was like not too long ago. It's a black guy. He works in like human resource, like that, those departments in the state where they handle this kind of stuff, like, child welfare stuff. He works in it. This is a black guy. You know what he said? He said, hey, sometimes I just tell the parent, he said, I tell the children, if a child comes to me, he said, I tell them, y'all, listen, this is a black man that was saying this. I got it on video. He said, if a child, a runaway, comes to me, I will tell them to classify, to claim that they are running away. If they claim that they're a runaway, then what we can do is then shift them over to another department where if they want to get a sex change, they can do it. And then if the parents find out, we'll just say, no, you have no authority here because they're a runaway. I'm trying to tell you, there are folks, again, we all together, we all FBA, we all this or that or whatever. Listen, nigga, you got FBA doing this stuff. You got people on ADOS doing this stuff. Whatever title that you want to give yourself, there are people that are committed to doing this kind of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Especially as it pertains to your children. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is real. And how many people you think gonna talk about this? Ain't not too many. Meanwhile, you're gonna have folks scratching their head wondering where our kids at and where they go now. He left Tammy, now he's Tommy, and you wondering how that happened. Because a lot of folks don't want to take the time to educate themselves, just even on the basics of things such as this. They don't. This is very, very real. Very real. So again, you want to run away? Okay, where you want to run away, but this is happening to the children now. Right now, this is happening. And I'm sure I got people in here right now who may have experience with working with foster care children. I know y'all got plenty of stories on that. There are many examples of that in these foster care situations. The amount of children that are going in these systems and these pharmaceutical companies have a direct link to black children and feed them all these different pharmaceuticals. And all it takes is for one of the children to say, I got a headache. And they're like, okay, that's all we need. Let's start feeding them all this stuff. Anyway, so these are things that, yes, we try to get people to focus on this. So this is why. So yes, Samba Tree, absolutely, yes, is a business. But it's more than that. What we're trying to focus on is we want to focus our business to target these areas so that these things can be addressed. You understand what I'm saying? We're not saying we're the only ones, because please, there's many people out here. Again, how many times I've encouraged people, go to Peace of Mind Counseling, go to her channel, whatever. She'd be talking about stuff like this all the time. You understand what I'm saying? There are many great, wonderful people out here that address this stuff, that are way more qualified. We're just doing our part. So this is why when we're talking about different things, when we talk about these herbs and things like that, we ain't just saying, y'all take this Samba, take this whatever, what you call it, sea moss. Just take this sea moss. And then a lot of times people are like, well, I don't know what it is. Child, I don't know what it is either. Just buy the thing. You know what I'm saying? No, we want to take the time and educate you and say, okay, this is what it's for. It may not necessarily be for you, but hey, if that ain't your thing, that's fine. There's many other things that you can choose from. But the bottom line is you need to address these things. Now we're getting even more honed in now, because now we're incorporating neuroscience. We're looking at, how all this stuff works on the inside, but we're also looking at neuroscience on one hand, and we're looking at melanin in the other hand. That is our approach. Melanin and neuroscience. We're looking at how these two things, the combination of these things, because there are specific needs. Those of us that have a lot of melanin, we have some very specific needs. Just like those who don't have a lot of melanin, they have their own unique needs too. But we need to start figuring out, there's too many tools out here for us to figure out, how do we optimize this, right? How do we optimize this? How do we optimize these eyes? How do we optimize our senses? How do we train our mouths to shut up when we need to shut up? You understand what I'm saying? How do we need to optimize our outlook on life? Those kind of things. That's our focus. And that's what we try to do here on this platform. So again, go ahead on over to sambatree.com. That's a long commercial, right? But hey, that's what it is. Anyway, let's move on here. I think I got two more stories, short stories, and that's it. That was talked about the fasting. Okay, yeah, let me go to here, and this is on Twitter. This is a woman, Angela Stanton King. I know some of y'all may have heard of her, maybe not. She has been sounding alarm on when it comes to on topics like abortion and things like that. Let me pull this up here. Angela Stanton King, she posted this. This was where's our bookmarks here? Hold on. She posted this under, basically she did a TikTok on talking about, oh yeah, I remember where it's under now. She did a TikTok where she was talking about celebrating the fact one of the things that's in this bill that they just passed. Like I told you, I know there's a lot of junk in there and all that, so I'm not gonna sit up here and pretend that, okay, we're gonna go through the whole bill, because I'll lose not only most of y'all, but I'll probably lose myself too. So I ain't gonna front and I ain't gonna lie either. They put enough illegalese in there to, to confuse everybody. And even the stuff that they put in there, they still be lying and stuff. So that's why I ain't gonna sit up here in front when it comes to that. I just tell people instead, hey, listen, you just look it up yourself, okay? And you got ChatGPT and all that, and you can find out. Hold on, Angela Stanton King. Okay, here it is right here. I bookmarked it, but man, this thing be shifting my bookmarks every time I turn around. Here we go. All right, let me move this over to here and let me show you this here real quick. And again, as always, those that you just joining in, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Let's go right here. Let me pull this up. This to show you. This is what she posted here. She says, it's disturbing. TikTok is flooded with videos of young black girls bragging about abortions. But the moment I celebrate saving lives, I'm hit with a community guidelines violation. Since when did honoring life become offensive? Make no mistake, there are enemies amongst us. And she's absolutely right. And yeah, one of the things in this bill, the big, beautiful bill or whatever, is that they defunded. The federal government finally decided to defund Planned Parenthood. So I'm happy to hear that, but I'm quite confident there's going to be some backdoor ways that they're still going to get money. So I'm never celebrating anytime when the government claims that they done did something for people, you know, because there's always backdoors there. But, you know, on the cover, good to hear, good to know, whatever. But isn't this something? Here you have a woman that's given a different point of view. She's not saying anything harmful to anybody. She's just saying, hey, I'm glad it was defunded. Oh, there's that light again. And guess what TikTok does? TikTok says, no. You can't, no, we ain't going to celebrate that. And they're going to flag her. And that's what they did. So anyway, let me get my light back up here. So we got that story here. Now I'm rushing now. Hold on. Let's see. We have, I talked about California laws. Okay. The other thing too is this, Elon Musk. I told y'all. Now, you remember I told you. I done told you. I said, you remember I was a couple of weeks ago, I said, this movie, I said, if there's any movie I would recommend, I would say you probably should, you know, it depends. I mean, it's not for everybody. You know, some people can't take the violence. I totally get it. The movie, The First Purge. And honestly, I would say you don't even need to see all the other ones to understand that one. The Purge, let me just refresh people's minds on that. The Purge is basically the series of movies that tell this story of a future where America has figured out its crime problem and how to get rid of it. They said, okay, one day a year, we're going to set aside an areas in cities and say, if you just, we're going to say for 24 hours, you can just go buck wild and kill anybody you want to kill, commit any crime you want to commit for the next 24 hours, and there will be no repercussions whatsoever, right? That's the whole basis of it. So you can imagine all the craziness, right? Now, the first purge talks about it talks about how it all started. It started by a political group that called itself the National Founding Fathers Association. The National Founding Fathers Association. And the reason why it started is because they said we got tired of the left versus the right and all this other stuff. So we're going to formulate our own political party. Now, this ain't anything new. It's not nothing new. I mean, you've had other people in real life that have done this many, many times over. So it wasn't really new, the concept of formulating a new party. But what was interesting in this movie was that this party was spearheading the use of AI and technology in order to facilitate this whole purge situation. And not only that, they were using tracking. Like they would inject people with stuff, right? Sounds familiar, where they gave them the ability to track you. And, there was other things that was just like, okay, yeah, this is really serious. This is really something. But they were using AI technology and all this stuff. Well, anyway, fast forward. Here you have Elon Musk just announced the other day that he is formulating a new political party called America's Party. It's the new political party because he's tired of the left versus right kind of nonsense, right? Now, this is the same Elon Musk that's spearheading technologies like Neuralink. You know what Neuralink is? Oh, yeah, Neuralink is where they literally are implanting chips in your brain. They already got people lined up. They already got people who are actually doing this now. Chips in your brain where you can control your computer without a mouse or keyboard, and you can just think about whatever. You could do this stuff. They have their robotic program, Tesla's robotic program, Optimus. You will be able I can be sitting in this chair right now, and if I had one of those robots, I can basically just visualize myself in this robot and have it going down the street somewhere kicking up somebody's behind. If I want to, or I can visualize myself going into the grocery store, picking up groceries or whatever, and I'm just sitting here in the chair. Yeah, this same guy wants to run a political party. So it was like, man, they literally tell you in these movies what the next steps are. And so yeah, it's really something. So again, but what's interesting, a lot of people calling him out on it because Elon Musk is the same guy that's a huge cheerleader when it comes to H-1B visas. And the person that he got to sign as the treasurer of America's party is a person from India. So yeah, so it looks like America's party is going to have a lot of curry in it. I ain't got no hate on Indians, but I'm just trying to tell you the truth is the truth. But anyway, let me see if I had anything else here. I think that is it, y'all. The truth is the truth, y'all. I can't help it. I got to tell the truth. So anyway, I think that's it. That's all we have for you today. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to our live news broadcast that we have here on Samba Journeys. Make sure you make some time, go over to our website, sambatree.com, because we got a sale going on, 20% off, y'all. Okay. And remember, midnight tonight, that's going to be it. You can still sign up, but you're going to have to pay more for the alternative day fasting. We want to see some changed lives out here, y'all. It's not just about losing weight. No, we want lives to be changed. We want mindsets to be changed. Okay. And this is a great opportunity for you to take part in something that can facilitate that. Okay. Thanks again for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll be talking to you again soon. Take care now.